Before we move on to the Sunday games, please hit subscribe or the like button if you're watching on YouTube, or share this with someone else who might like football. So that would mean a lot to us. It would really help out the show. All right, let's get to the Sunday games. The first Sunday game is Colts at the Bears. The sign open up Colts -1. It's up to -2.5, so not quite -3 yet. The Bears are going to start Nick Foles over Mitchell Trubisky, and I can't believe there was some controversy over that. After the game, like people were like, "Oh, are the Bears going to start?" Like, of course they're going to start Nick Foles. So, who do you like in this game?
I like the Colts. I do like the Bears better with Nick Foles. I think he's just a better quarterback. He does more for them as a passer. Obviously, a little less mobile, but you can get by without that. But I'm still on the Colts here. I just think that the Bears are this is a bad logic thing, but the Bears are due to lose. They're 3-0 right now, and they could easily be 0-3. But last week against the Falcons, before putting in Nick Foles, it looked like they were going to get absolutely crushed. And then the Falcons just kind of collapsed under their own weight, as they're wont to do under Dan Quinn. And then, Nick Foles did his best to lead the Bears back, and he did a good job. And I think Nick Foles is going to be good for this team. But I just think the rest of the Bears team doesn't match up particularly well against the Colts. I think the Colts defensive line in particular is underrated. I think they'll be able to get some pressure on Nick Foles. I think that'll be a big element of the game for Justin Houston, and DeForest Buckner can get in there and kind of make him have to move, because Foles is kind of a statue in the pocket. He's not very good moving around. I think that will help the Colts defense. And then I think Indy should move the ball pretty well on offense. Their running game is pretty solid, and Chicago was just gashed by Atlanta in that regard, by their running backs. Not necessarily always on the ground, but Brian Hill had a long touchdown reception. Todd Gurley ripped off some good chunk gains. And then obviously Matt Ryan took them apart through the air. And I know the Falcons have a really good offense, and Phillip Rivers isn't as good as Matt Ryan at this stage, but I feel like Frank Reich's going to have a plan in place to move the ball through the air and on the ground against this Bears defense. So I'm going to stick with the Colts here. If this number gets up to 3, then I might be kind of a little bit more hesitant to bet them. But for now, I'm on the Colts -2.5 for 2 units. I'm fairly confident that they should win this game. But I could see a case for the Bears if the number got to +3, but I'm definitely sticking with the Colts at this point.
Yeah, I think I'd make a case for the Bears at +3 for sure. I think this is another case where you could say the most likely results of this game are the Colts winning by 3 and the Bears winning by 3. So if you take the +3, you either get the win or the push. So I think at +3, it might be worth it to take the Bears. And even if you like the Bears, you definitely have to get +3. Like, don't settle for +2. You could probably buy it up somewhere. So I think I would do that. At +2.5, I'm kind of like wishy-washy on this game. Like I can make a case for either team. The computer model thinks the Bears should be -4, which is kind of like surprising to me. But I do agree with what you say about the Colts having a good matchup against the Bears. The Bears linebackers aren't very good, so I think the Colts are going to get their tight ends and the running backs matched up against the Bears linebackers. But then again, I like the Bears a lot more with Nick Foles. I think he gives them some life that they didn't have before. And while I think the Colts might get pressure on Nick Foles, I also like the Bears receivers against the Colts defensive backs. So I think Allen Robinson could have a big game, and Anthony Miller, as crazy as that comeback was for the Bears, they had 2 touchdowns taken away from them too. So while they won 30-26, it could have been 44-26 if you think about it that way. So I like Foles as an underdog. So I'm leaning toward the Bears, but this is not going to be a bet for me unless I get +3.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to do it. Again, I can see the case for Foles. My big thing is I want to see him come into a game and play well against the secondary that isn't Atlanta's, because Atlanta's secondary is the worst in the league. And it is close because Dallas and Seattle have been so bad so far. But I just think that Foles will have a tougher time throwing on this Colts secondary, though. I do like the matchup specifically of Allen Robinson against these Colts corners, but I think Frank Reich, again, will find a way to at least scheme against that a little bit. And if Foles is under pressure, I just don't trust him. But yeah, this is a game I'm not super high on, but I'm kind of gung-ho about betting the Colts at this point, because I think they're underrated league-wide. So we'll see what ends up happening, though.
Yeah, I think they're underrated too. This guy's saying we have an anti-Bears bias. I just picked the Bears, so so much for that theory.